So we are back again. Yeah, let's just cut right to
Yes,
it.
we got it.
Okay, we're gonna get to baseball a little bit later, because that's like the longer portion of the pod. Obviously, we're still gonna talk about some of the other sports, but elephant in the room, Matt, we finally get the
How
Dream World
many years
Series.
did we wait for this?
I mean, yeah, we've known each other
Holy,
for what, like 8 years now, something like
eight
that.
years in the making.
So finally get the Dream World Series, Yankees, Dodgers. Um, like we said, we will get to it a little bit later. May or may not have some guests joining us later to talk baseball. But we have so much to talk about with baseball. We want to talk about some of the other stuff first before we get into our baseball bag later on. So, with that being said, Matt, we'll start with the NFL. I know usually we start with the Cowboys. Luckily, they had a bye
Best
this
week of the
week.
season.
Yeah, after last week, I definitely think a bye was a good breather for the Cowboys. They got smacked around by the Lions, but I mean, overall, 3-3. Obviously, you would hope for a little bit better, especially I think with how well the Commanders have been playing. We will talk about it in a little bit, but I think the division is still within reach. Playoffs are definitely still within reach. So it's not panic time yet. I don't even think you would say that, but definitely a good bye week. Hopefully it resets something in the Cowboys organization. I don't know, let guys get healthy, whatever the case may be. But I think it was a perfectly timed bye for you guys right after the Lions game. So I don't know if you wanted to comment on anything Cowboys or you don't even want to talk about it.
Well, I will say this because our bye week happened this week. It's kind of an advantage because we do play the 49ers next week, who, on the other hand, are going into their bye after next week, are just banged up like crazy. So this is a really important game because if you can't beat them now, when are you gonna beat them, going forward when they're fully healthy and stuff? So I'm kind of interested to see how this team does because if we lose 3-4, 4-3, it's different feeling, I think. So I think it's more mental demons with the 49ers, but they're down right now. And yeah, we're not playing well, but we should have the luxury of getting Deron Bland back. I think Micah Parsons is a maybe. So there's some reinforcements coming, but it's now or never, I think, for Dallas within this next couple of weeks. I know the 49ers, Falcons, and the Eagles, next three games, that's three tough teams. You can easily lose all three. So I think the season is really hanging in the balance week by week at this point. But we're hanging on
Yeah.
by a thread.
Yeah, still hanging on. At least you're still hanging on. I need to pray. I'm praying for a miracle at this point with my Dolphins
Hey, the
team.
miracle is QB1's
Yeah,
back, maybe?
it sounds like definitely sounds like the plan is for him to come back, barring any kind of crazy setback. But he had his first press conference in a while, right? Um, and he sounded a little agitated at like wanting to get back out there. He knows like the questions that are going to be asked. His long-term health, what did the doctors say? What did his family say? What did the coaches say? All this stuff. And it sounds like he's a little bit irritated. I mean, kind of hard not to be when you're in that position, right? And you have so much scrutiny put on you and the decision to kind of, you know, come back and play football. When you have so many people saying like, voicing their opinions, these non-medical professionals that voice their opinions, it must get a little bit annoying, but at the same time, obviously people do care. And so at least he was able to acknowledge that. But, just kind of getting into the football aspects of the Dolphins. I said last week, Matt, that the Colts game was definitely going to be a big one. Not just for the season, but just for, I think, the team morale right now. Like you said, 4-3 versus 3-4, that's a big difference. So is being 3-3 versus 2-4, right? So I don't know. I thought that kind of coming off of the bye week that, we would have liked to see a little bit more production maybe from this team offensively. And I'll be honest, I didn't watch the game, but watching kind of the highlights of everything, definitely a winnable game. I'll say this too. I have no idea after watching that game how the Colts have 4 wins. I mean, that was absolutely abysmal offense by both sides. I mean, turnovers essentially, it came down to that. It was one of those ugly, like, if you're not a Dolphins fan and you're not a Colts fan, you're turning off that game at halftime and watching something else because it was disgusting. It was ugly. I mean, Anthony Richardson, 10 of 24. He finished 10 of 24, Matt. And I mean, he had
Terrible.
56 rush yards, but he's taking big hits. I don't know if they're running him that much because they don't feel like he can pass the ball or what is the case, but no Jonathan Taylor for the Colts. And I mean, you just got to, those are the kind of games you got to find a way to win regardless of who you have in there. I mean, we can't be putting up 10 points, honestly. Like, that's just not going to cut it. We had a missed field goal, two kind of costly fumbles, one deep in our territory, and then another deep in their territory. So it's so many swings off of uh, turnovers there. Essentially, a 10-point swing off of two fumbles by the Dolphins. So, I mean, it's frustrating, especially when it's coming from your vet, Ingold and Mostert, but that's just football sometimes. That's the way it goes. Sometimes you got to win ugly, and losing ugly definitely hurts. But like you said, Matt, I believe there is still some hope with Uno coming back. I don't know how much excitement there is from Dolphins fans, but I'll just say it seemed like on the sidelines, even though they're losing and they have no momentum, like McDaniel and Tyreek and Waddle were like joking around or something. And people were pissed about a lot of Dolphins fans were pissed, like, oh, this is such an unserious organization and, you know, oh, this and that. And McDaniel's a terrible coach. And I just got to say, as a newly minted Dolphins fan, I know I don't share the same frustration as a lot of these longtime fans that have gone through so much suffering and they haven't made the playoffs in 20 plus years. All right, sorry, haven't won a playoff game in 20 plus years. So I can't even imagine, that kind of frustration. But I will say, coming from a little bit of a more outsider's perspective, like if we're going to label Mike McDaniel a bad coach, right? The system itself, it was literally built around Tua's skill set, right? Tua was there first, then Mike McDaniel comes in and establishes this whole thing is ran around what Tua excels at, right? And if you heard Tua's press conference today, he's talking about how hard it is for new guys to come in, and it's the timing, it's the motions, it's throwing into these windows. Even he went as far as to say like the footwork that some of these plays require. He's flipping his feet to show defenses different looks. Think he's going to go here, looks back, ball's out instantly. And that's hard to pick up within even a month, right? It took Tua essentially a whole year in the system to get comfortable. We remember even in Mike's first year, he's underthrowing Tyreek, on these deep balls. And it wasn't until the next year when we really saw what that offense can look like. So expecting any quarterback not familiar with the system to just come in and run it right away, that's asking a lot, right? Not just a standard NFL offense, but a timing based offense with so many motions and pre snap things to have to coordinate. It's a lot. So just pump the brakes on the Mike McDaniel is a bad coach thing. I just wanted to say that. But yeah, moving forward, Matt, hard to say, what the season is going to look like. The Bills are kind of pulling away in the division, but the AFC, the good thing is it's still kind of tight, in that middle pack of teams. But I mean, realistically, sitting at 2-4, they probably have to go. Oh, geez,
At least
I
get
don't
to
even
nine
know.
wins, right?
At least 9 wins, but realistically, I think they have to go 8-3 probably the rest of the way. And I've been talking about it since the season started. The first half of the season was the quote unquote easy schedule, right? And now we're gonna have to play some of the more difficult teams down the stretch. I don't know how that's gonna fare, but can't give up hope yet. I mean, if you go back a couple years when Brian Flores was still the head coach, they're 1-6 or 1-7 or whatever that was, and made a run essentially and almost made the playoffs that year. So I'll just say, Matt, that it's not over, but you know, the offense definitely needs that 2023 Miami Dolphins offense back because they finally established a run. The defense, as banged up as they are as well, I mean, no Jalen Phillips now for the rest of the year, are holding their own. Yeah, the Colts aren't a great offense, but when you hold a team to 16 points, what more can you ask for from your defense, right? So Arizona, they're just one of those weird teams where they look great and then they look terrible and they look great and they look terrible. I don't know what kind of team they're going to be next week, but definitely should be a winnable game. It'll probably be another ugly and close game, but I think essentially, Matt, the season is almost on the line next week. Sitting at 2-5, you start to think, all right, do we just become sellers, punt this season for next year? That's the kind of conversations you start to have when you're sitting there at 2-5, right? So I'll just say I think the next week and then essentially the next 2 weeks are going to determine what the Dolphins do the rest of the season. So yeah, I don't want to get too much into it, but I will be watching
Imagine,
football Sunday. I'll just say that.
imagine if both of our teams are out of playoff contention in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's gonna be so sad. And
Damn.
we're I'm just gonna be we have to watch all these other teams throughout the year, and then one of us is gonna be extra sad because one of them is gonna have lost the World Series and then have lost have their team knocked out. So one of us is gonna be real sad if both of our teams are out. One of us will still be riding the high of the World Series, and it probably won't be as bad.
Yeah,
But
let's
one of
say the
us is
World
going to be,
Series will cure everything if
yeah.
in the football
But one of us
season.
is going to be devastated. But um,
Thanks.
yeah. We'll see. One of us is going to be real sad. But before we move off the NFL, Matt, since I brought up the Commanders earlier, you know, it just seems like depth nowadays, no matter what position, is so relevant for winning, and winning in this 17 game season now. And none other, or I don't think any position more important than the backup quarterback at this point. We've seen so many quarterbacks go down, and you know these competent backups are becoming more and more valuable. I mean, just look at the Dolphins, right? But Jaden Daniels, having an outstanding rookie year, kind of had that question coming into the pros, right? We saw how reckless he ran at LSU. I mean, gifted athlete, right? Don't get me wrong. He's fast. He can make guys miss in the open field, but sometimes you saw that recklessness kind of come into effect. And he's 6'4", but he's not a Josh Allen type of 6'4", 6'5", where he's going to be able to truck dudes and, take the big hits and pop right back up. He's a little bit more slender, but definitely, very athletic. So I don't think it was a surprise that they went out in the offseason and signed someone that has a similar skill set. Marcus, he's getting up there in age, but really doesn't have a ton of miles for a 10-year guy like himself, right?
At least
Sat,
recently in his career, right?
yeah, recently. So, he's sat out those Vegas years, was a backup last year. The Atlanta, thing didn't work out for him, but I think it was a good position for him to be able to mentor a guy like Jaden, come in, and then if and when he had to play, it would be a good system because I think him and Jaden coming into the league had similar skill sets, right? Both were able to run, throw, all of that. So when Jaden Daniels goes down here, he's not going to come back in the game. Um, I think it was encouraging for, a Marcus fan, I'll say, and as well as if you're a Commanders fan, you might not like to hear this, Matt, but I mean, let's take it with a grain of salt here. They played the Carolina Panthers at home, right? Who I think we can acknowledge is probably the worst team in the league. at this point. But even with that grain of salt, I think it's encouraging if you're a fan of the Commanders to say, okay, yeah, even if Jaden goes down, gets nicked up for a couple games, right? We still have a veteran quarterback that's competent in running the offense. And I think, after the first drive or two, he got kind of the jitters out of the way. I mean, he led a 80, 90 yard touchdown drive, right? 2 minute drill type of vibe too. So that's just encouraging to see. See he was on time, hitting guys, and also this is a testament to Cliff Kingsbury's offense. I think for him to be able to just transition like that, take out your rookie of the year favorite at this point and put in a guy like Marcus, and the offense doesn't miss a beat. Hey, that's what more can you ask for out of your team? So just going back, the depth I think is just so important nowadays. But yeah, it was real encouraging to see Matt. Just kind of good to see Marcus playing again. I'm biased. You're biased, Oregon fan and Hawaii fan. I'm biased. I've been following Marcus his whole career, but really he's one of those like fringe starting quarterbacks in the league. And I think when you get chance and you capitalize on your opportunity, like look at Sam Darnold, right? In Minnesota, bounced around. I think this is his fourth team, right? Started
That's
with the Jets.
yeah,
He was with
14.
the Panthers, Niners last year. And now he's getting his fourth opportunity. And sometimes the system and uh, it's just a good fit at the right time. And sometimes that's all you really need. So I'm just hoping, I'm not giving up on Marcus starting one day. I mean, look at Geno Smith, the career revival that he's had over in Seattle when everyone thought he was a bust. So it's just good to know that, Marcus still has some juice. Like he looked pretty good even running the ball. He was mobile, his arm still looks pretty good. So I don't think it's over for him. I definitely think it's gonna take the perfect situation and a lot of luck for him to be able to start again one day. But I don't think it's over, just based on what I saw from the last game. But
I think
yeah,
Marcus still like I don't know if he would start, but I think he's firmly solidified himself in the league for at least a couple more years at a
oh,
minimum.
I think five minimum.
Because I mean, it's like a lot of these quarterbacks now coming out of college. That's kind of just that's where he's gonna go. Right? He's gonna go. He's gonna be a backup to a Jaden Daniels or someone coming out of college next year that can kind of move around a little bit. So I think that's just kind of just gonna be his role in the NFL. So, and he's shown that he can at least be competent. Because as a backup, not everybody can be Cooper Rush and save the day and go 5-1 and
That's
dominate
true
the
though.
league.
All
No,
right,
that's not realistic. Like a backup, if you can win a game and just thrown into the fire, that's you earn your paycheck right there. So Marquez, hell of a job because I think that's hard to do, even if it's the Panthers. I mean, it was like Jaden Daniels was on the floor or on the field in a sense, right? The offense stayed the same. And I think that's a lot of things. One thing I should say that teams really need to focus on, in my opinion, is having a backup that matches your starters' skill sets. And this is a great example of it. Jaden, mobile, Marcus, mobile, even going back to a couple years ago, right? Lamar, mobile, gets hurt. Throw in Tyler Huntley, mobile, not the same quarterback, obviously, but can run the same offense, I think. So credit to Marcus, man. I gotta shout him out. I know he's on the rival now. Makes me disgusted that he's doing well and helping them win games, but gotta give credit where credit is due. So shout out to the boy from St. Louis.
yep. And I was just thinking, Matt, how great of a situation would it have been? Obviously, you don't think Tua would have liked to have a guy like Marcus, someone he knows, someone he
I think
trusts.
all of Hawaii would
Yeah,
just
I
be
mean,
in total like, oh my
easy
goodness.
Dolphins fan, right,
That would
right
be
there.
insane.
I mean, but
But different
ser
skill set though.
I mean, yeah, different skill set, but on a serious note, you know, I think Marcus is up there with kind of the Joe Flacco-esque, guys that can just come in and be competent. Right away, like a Tyrod Taylor, got kind of
That's who
guys
the
like that
Dolphins need to
where,
get. Dolphins need to get Joe Flacco next year.
or someone like that, um, like in that section of quarterbacks where they could be a starter, but they're definitely one of the higher valued backups in the league. And and like I said, becoming more and more important as we kind of see the season progress because it could be a team like the Browns. I mean, maybe it'll help the Browns. I don't know. With Deshaun not in there with how he was playing, I don't know. But we saw when Joe Burrow went down last year, right? They're still kind of in it, but if the quarterback isn't quite there, it really does unravel everything. But yeah, good to see Marcus. I know there's a lot of good football that's being played across the league. Um, we just are not focusing on that right now. So probably in the midseason checkpoint. I mean, we're still going to touch base with football, but for now, we're definitely focusing more on some of the college stuff. Um, so hold on, let me send a link over to one of our guests who may be joining sometime soon. He'll talk whatever with us. I'll just wait
Is
for
it
him
the
to
Yankee
join.
guess or the
It's a
Dodger
Yankees
guess?
guess. I don't think the Dodgers guess is going to be able to join, so it's going to be a 2v1. But we'll keep the train going here, Matt. Wanted to touch on a very little bit of college football. Um, I didn't watch any of the Hawaii game. I figured it was going to be a slaughter. It was. So no comment from me after I kind of went on the rant last week, but no comment from me.
Yeah, I
So
heard your. I listened to your rant as a viewer.
yeah, yeah. And so I'm good. I got mine out of my system last week. Did you want to say anything about this past game?
I mean, it's just more of the same old shit. Like honestly, to put it that way.
Yeah.
Like I mean, they missed. They beat themselves, right? When you're a team that's going in as the underdog, the one thing you cannot do is give the other team easy points and beat yourselves. Turnovers, obviously. Chip shot field goals. I'm sorry, college kickers, NFL kickers. It's kind of your job. Like, no offense. You got to make those easy kicks. Can't be missing no 28-yard field goals in college. Like, that, sorry, that doesn't cut it to me. And then what do we always say? We've been saying this for like, what, 2, 3 years now? It's kind of crazy that when you get Tyler Hines the ball, he kind of does stuff. It's kind of crazy, but then they just go away from it. They go away from it. They get him the ball early, and then it's just like nothing. And look who scored the one touchdown today, like or last game. Like it just baffles me. It really does baffle me, and I really do wonder if they can win a game the rest of the season. I'm just looking at their schedule. There's definitely winnable games, but I definitely
There are
do not
winnable
feel
games.
confident.
Okay,
Like
let's just float out
Nevada,
a
I'm not
couple.
confident in that.
Let's just float out a couple different scenarios, and our guest can maybe look to join in whenever he's ready to join. Um,
Hey, he's actually the guest is the great Shager guy, so this is perfect.
yeah, he joined right when we're talking about some UH
Perfect.
football.
Oh yeah.
So I just wanted to throw out a couple different scenarios to both of you because I have my thoughts, right? So three scenarios, right? I'll go from least likely to most likely. So least likely, we somehow managed to win 4 games and make a bowl game, right? Does that mean a Timmy extension? I don't know. Like, because we need to win. Do we have
Four
to
out
win
of
seven
five.
or six? It's
You got to
just
win
six, right?
seven.
Also, we do have to win seven?
You have to win seven because they played two FCS teams.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh God, never mind. That changes my whole scenario because we're not winning out. So, okay, forget what I said. Forget what I said there.
Okay, but
Right?
6 wins would be the most he's had in a season, right? Because
Yeah,
what
but
was
it's
the
still no.
five?
It's still no bowl game. So that'll be okay. That was going to be my second scenario anyway. It's what if we get one win away from a bowl game again, right? I'm sure that buys him a little bit more time, but I
I think
mean,
so.
when are we gonna get that next step, or are we just gonna concede that it'll get there whenever it gets there, right? Like, are we just gonna? Is that just what UH football is gonna have to be? We're just gonna have to be okay with being almost a bowl eligible team. Um, I know it's only his third year, so yeah, he'll probably get a couple more years of on his leash, right? But I mean, I don't know. I'm just kind of curious to see what the fan base is going to be like because UH fans are not very patient. I think that has been established over the course of my fandom, at least. Um, but I don't know. You think that that'll be good enough to satisfy the board, or is it the booster? I don't even know who. College football is so different, but you think it's enough to warrant maybe a potential extension? Because I don't even know how long his current contract is going to be up for.
What did he sign? 5 year? Is it a 5 year deal? Like his
Was it
initial one?
5 years? I think it had to have been something like that.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if it would get extended, but I definitely it would
Yeah,
put
four
the
year with a 5 year option essentially,
5 year option for him
or
or
it's
like
a
the
it's a 5th year trigger. So if he makes a bowl game, then he gets a 5th year.
oh, so if he doesn't, then it's just 4 years.
Yeah.
Mm. Oh, interesting.
So he has
Well,
a
that
four
changes
year
everything.
contract. Yeah. So this is the end of his third year, right? Or this is gonna be this is his third year. So next year it's a contract year for Timmy. So I don't know. I'm kind of curious. Do you think that UH is probably just gonna have to sit and wait it out? Or do you think if they're let's call it 5, 6 wins this year, is that enough to warrant an extension? Is there enough that you've seen to, extend him for another couple years?
I'll say if they go what 4-1 over the next 5 games to finish the season, I think they kind of have to. Like, there's no choice because as a recruit, why would you want to go to a school where the coach is only there for one more year? Like, that's the guy that's recruiting you, and then say he gets fired or he just leaves. Like, those players are maybe going to transfer, go follow Timmy wherever he goes elsewhere, or there's all these scenarios, right? So you're going to lose the team in a sense, right? You got to start from scratch. So having the coach's security, I think, kind of allows players to say, okay, yeah, this guy's going to be here for my 4 years of college ball. Like, I can come here knowing that I got my guy in a sense. So it's tough, but I don't think that's going to happen because we're not going to go 4-1. So I am
Yeah.
glass half empty when it
Okay.
comes to you.
What about you, Wade? If they finish the season strong, right? Overall, it's going to be exactly almost a copycat of last year, where start off slow, finish strong, still no bowl game. But would that be enough to give you confidence in Timmy moving forward?
Uh, I mean, yeah, it's hard to say. Um, and
You think
you're
it's just going to have to be a
saying,
waited out until next year and see how next year goes?
well, the thing is, Shager's gone next year, right? So,
I told you.
no, no, but like he's gonna be
No,
gone.
seriously, yeah, that's true.
So, and you have what one of your two freshman quarterbacks that are gonna start.
Oh, I
You can't
hope.
really, yeah, well, hopefully, right? But you can't really just say like say whoever he starts rough year, right? Can't really. I don't think you can fully blame anything on Timmy, and then if you do fire him, you have to bring in someone else in a new system, and that same quarterback who probably started next is going to start next year is probably going to start to struggle the year after that. And I feel like as UH fans, you're right. Like we're impatient. We're not like it feels like we're always comparing what we have now to what we had like 15 years ago or something. But yeah, I think you gotta give Timmy a little longer. Um, I think he can flip the switch. But who knows? It feels like next year is really what the system like they already have a system in place. So like you can kind of tell within the next 2 years, maybe. I give him 2 or 3 years. With a system in place, that a system everyone has bought into already, then you can judge it. But I still think it's a little too early, and especially with your big playmakers changing out this year, you probably need to give him a little bit more time. But we'll see. I mean, I hope they can flip the switch for the rest of the season, but to UH,
Okay.
who knows?
Yeah, so I'll just say I think if they finish, let's say 5, 6 wins by some miracle, then for me that's still not going to be enough to give him an extension during the quote unquote off season. I think it'll definitely buy him a little bit more leeway going into next season, right? Because for me, yeah, winning is going to be hard no matter where you are. But in Division One, it's hard to win. Uh, it's hard to recruit as being Hawaii. Honestly, like you just want to compare facilities. Like if I'm a D1 recruit, I have the chance to go to the mainland or Hawaii. Like I look at Hawaii Stadium, I look at their facilities. I'm looking at, unless I'm a really big like, oh, I want to live in Hawaii. If football is more important, I mean, I would think there's probably a little bit more of an advantage going to one of the lower mainland schools, right? So I'm not going to base it all off of winning just because it is so much about recruiting talent at the D1 level. But I will say that I just can't stand like you said, Matt, the shooting ourselves in the foot and it doesn't seem to change. Like the penalties, like getting set in time, like subbing the right guys, like having a play ready for certain situations, game sense. Are all our players on the same page? Like coaching stuff, right? No wide receiver false starts multiple times in a game. I've never seen so many than watching a UH football game, right? It's just
Shouldn't
so it's
even be
like things
happening
like
multiple times in a season. Should
right.
happen once a season,
And
max.
so that's why I'm just saying like I I would like to see that stuff get fixed, even if we end up losing, you know, if we only win 2 more games this year, we finish with 4 wins. Not gonna be pretty, but if we can at least see some kind of improvement in that essence, then I think that's definitely an encouraging sign moving forward. So now the worst case scenario is let's say we win 1 game. We finish with 3 wins, right? And things aren't getting better. I don't even know if we can afford to fire him. Honestly, like who's going to come in? Well, we're going to have another system come in place, right? And who else is going to know kind of the island culture and how to recruit to Hawaii better than a guy like Timmy Chang, literally one of the football legends, right? Born and raised here, knows what it's like. Also went to the mainland, has that experience. I just don't know. I think it puts UH in kind of an impossible situation if they sputter out and like win 1 or 0 games the rest of the year. If they finish at 3 and I don't even know what will that be 3 and 10. Like if we regress, I don't know. Then I think it gets kind of harder. I still think you have to stick with him. Like you don't really have a choice. But honestly, I can kind of perceive, like you said, Matt, where the win's going to come. I mean, maybe this next game, Nevada, they're only favored by 2.5, and we're at home. This is a big week coming up. Um,
I
and
think
then
it's
I think
homecoming week too.
yeah, and to end the season, New Mexico, that's going to be another big game. They're 3-4. I think we lose to Fresno. I think UNLV trounces us at home, and I think I mean, we should beat Utah State. They have 1 win, but I don't know. Us on the road, a little bit sketchy. So if we get 2 more wins, like, I don't know. But
I think it's
yeah,
just a
I'll
bad
just,
look if you only win against Division 2 teams. Like you're beating Delaware State and Northern Iowa. That's your 2 wins. Like that's not a good look for any D1 program.
all right. Yeah. So a lot riding on the line for this UH team the rest of the year. I don't want to get too much into it. I already spent more time than I was planning to talk about it. I kind of I said I wasn't gonna get mad, and I still got mad talking about it. So, yeah, we'll monitor the situation as we kind of go on throughout the year. But I think definitely going to be important for how this team finishes. Um, but yeah, to kind of round it out, Matt, I know you always want to talk about Oregon. Um, I mean, not too much to say. They handled business against Purdue, coming off the nail biter the week before. But yeah, anything you wanted to touch on with that one?
I think it's just crazy that they're number one in the country now. It's been forever, it seems like, since the Marcus days, I think. That was the last time they were number one. But they're playing Purdue, coming off the Ohio State emotional win. I was, kind of worried they would kind of take their foot off the gas, but yeah, I don't think they did. But they didn't play great either, which is okay, and I kind of understand, you know, just that emotional, you know, difference is crazy in sports. Like we can all relate to that. There's games that are just you get more fired up for, and it it helps you play better sometimes. But they did what they had to do. Um, Dylan was okay again. Had another turnover. Still want to see him cut down on the mistakes a little bit. Um, but the run game was efficient, which is what you're supposed to do. Our playmakers made plays on offense. It's kind of all you got to do when you're playing an inferior team. So that's kind of the goal now. I think they got two tough games ahead. They got to play Illinois and then Michigan. That's kind of the two big boys left on the schedule. So, hey, they're getting close. They're getting close. They're a little over halfway there. But I have no doubt this team, if they stay healthy, they'll be in the playoff. It's just more of a matter of what seed they're going to get and if they get that bye. So far, so good. So let's hope that they can stay number one for the remainder of the season.
Yeah, we'll see about that because I don't know. I think even with Georgia's loss, just being in the SEC, and they have the big win over Texas now. I think that might eventually catapult them. Let's say they do win out. Just I think Oregon's strength of schedule is going to end up hurting them in the end. Michigan at the beginning of the year looked like it would have been a big win for them, but I mean now Michigan's unranked, so I think that'll drop that if they do manage to win there. But yeah, college football, man, just so crazy this year. I mean, I know we kind of have been saying that, but now with the new conferences and the NIL in full effect up until this point, I mean, Alabama now sitting at two losses, Matt, when they look so good. Miami is somehow undefeated. I don't know how Miami's
Can't stand those
undefeated.
guys.
Yeah, they should definitely not be undefeated. Well, a lot of the two loss teams still hovering right around that top 12 markers. So we'll see with this new format how the rest of the season shakes out. But yeah, definitely going to be a fun home stretch for college football. Okay, so wait, just bear with us. We're almost to baseball, but there is one topic we wanted to get to. Um, and lost in the mix of our talks, the NBA starts tomorrow. So basketball is officially going to be back, and we would be remiss not to talk about the Lakers. Matt being a LeBron fan, we're Lakers fans, right? So it's a big kind of season, I think, to watch JJ Redick as the new head coach in his first year. Really excited throughout what I've seen, just dating back to his press conference when he got hired. Such a different vibe, I feel like, to this team. It's just been so refreshing that compared to the last couple years, I'll say, with head coaching interviews, to where you can tell how just cerebral JJ is. I mean, you could tell from watching, his podcast. You could tell from when he's on, ESPN as a commentator, how he thinks the game through. He's able to take in so many different perspectives and kind of put them together. And he's also very, kind of self-aware in aspects that I think are important to have as a head coach. And so, like I said, going back to his first interview, he recognizes the pressure that he's under. He recognizes the situation he has. not only being the coach of the Los Angeles Lakers, but being the head coach of LeBron James. Like that's a territory that not a lot of people can handle, I think. Because, whether LeBron says it or not, like he's gonna have to like you for him to be fully bought into your system. Like that's just how it is, right? We kind of saw a little bit of tension between him and Darvin Ham, um, versus like when he was getting coached by Aaron Lu, let's say, right? You could tell there was just kind of a difference when he has that trust in you as a head coach. But I think for now he trusts JJ. Um, but getting to the basketball side of it, Matt, I know it's only preseason, kind of hard to tell, but you know, I like the kind of movement that I'm seeing from this Lakers team. Just you can tell they're utilizing the floor way more. Like, guys aren't getting stuck with the ball in their hands. People know, well, they're still figuring out, like working out the kinks and everything, but just seeing the movement of the basketball on the offensive end. And we got, Anthony Davis back shooting threes. If we can bring back that AD, I think that's gonna unlock so much for this Lakers team. So yeah, Matt, really excited. Opening game tomorrow against Minnesota. I don't know when the last time we've won an opening night was. I think it's been a little while, but yeah, super excited to have basketball back and see this new look Lakers team with JJ at the forefront. So I'm excited.
I'm excited because I just want to see the LeBron Bronny historical moment because I think that's going to be pretty cool to see, like for an actual regular season game. So, I mean, I think he's going to play him at least a little bit, right? At
I mean, you'd think so. We'll see what the rotation is. I don't think,
least in the second quarter or something.
yeah, because we'll definitely see the Lakers already released their starting five. They're going with that same
The
starting
playoff
five,
five.
the playoff five. So we got D'Lo, AR, Braun, Rui, and AD. I think that's the best you're going to roll with right now. Obviously, things like injuries and, players play up and play down to expectations. But I think for now that's a pretty safe starting five for JJ to kind of get his feet wet in the NBA. But they have a tough task. I mean, Minnesota, they're going to be one of the top teams in the West. So I think this will be a good opening test for JJ and these Lakers. But yeah, the Braun Brownie thing, that'll be an iconic moment for sure. So we'll be looking forward to that one. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's it. I think we can get into the bulk of our conversation here.
The main
Sorry.
event.
Yeah, the main event. So let's get into it. We finally have our Dodgers Yankees World Series, boys. It is finally here. Friendships will be put on pause. Um, uh, shit will be talked. And at the end of the day, someone, or I mean, it's just funny, friend groups, you just have Dodgers fans, you have Yankees fans. So there will be someone that's happy and someone that's sad. There will be multiple happy people, multiple sad people on both ends. Especially, I think, with how each of the respective teams' seasons has gone up until this point. Both teams been through a lot, ups and downs throughout the entire year. And for one of these teams to not be able to win, it's going to be a travesty, no matter how you look at it. But that's baseball, and that's just how it goes. So, yeah, let's get into our baseball talk now. We will start with the Yankees. So rather than doing kind of a game by game recap, Matt and Wade, I'll let Matt start it off. Matt, why don't you just give us, you could say a rundown or how you're feeling, how you felt about that series against the Guardians.
I'm glad it's over because I couldn't take it emotionally. It was just too stressful. Every game was way too close. Yeah, not good for my health, I would say. So I'm glad that it's done. But as a casual fan, or I should say just a baseball fan, you just want to watch good baseball. It's kind of what you want. I mean, close playoff games, coming down to the wire. You see the glimpses of good pitching, clutch hitting from both teams. So really a series that you couldn't have asked for anything better. Um, but we're Yankees fans, at least Wade and I. So from the perspective of the team, 27-time world champs, hopefully soon to be 28-time world champs in the next couple weeks. Um, it started off pretty strong, right? You win your 2 games at home. With Garrett Cole not really the greatest in his start, but on the flip side, Carlos Rodon got off to the hot start in game 1. We rode that start all the way through. And then really when it got to Cleveland, that's when the chaos began, 1 strike away from I'm thinking 3-0 in the series. Oh, it's a wrap. We got this. And then those scrappy Guardians just they don't go away. They somehow tie the game off of Weaver and then they walk it off in the 10th. I'm devastated. I think we all were in Yankee universe. And then game 4, it was just it was just another one like that. I mean, you know, that eighth, I just remember the 7th inning was one of the most frustrated times I probably had to deal with in recent Yankee memory. 4-run lead, and then every Yankee fan's worst nightmare, cardiac Clay. I call him ass Holmes. Like he's like it's like you almost knew it was coming after game 3, whom he took the loss, right? So it's just what is Aaron Boone doing? Like why are you throwing this guy in a bad situation in the first place? And then just him being that pitcher that just doesn't have the clutch gene, I just feel like. So that was a nightmare. And then the Rizzo drop ball. Oh my god, I think my
Oh
soul just my soul left my body. Normally when I watch Yankee games, like I'm literally texting Wade like play by play stuff.
Yep.
It's like I don't even know if anyone wants to read that because it's just like F Aaron. It's just there's so many things going on. But I think I was just so deflated at that point. Like even the game was tied. Like it's not over or I'm not losing into the 9th. I was so deflated. I sat on the couch. I was just like sulking at the TV. Like great. Like here we go again. Class A's and he's gonna shut us down. He's all pissed off probably from, giving up Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton nukes. And then it's like, what the heck? Like the bottom of the lineup just saves the day. I mean, Rizzo redeems himself, and then Anthony Volpe having an outstanding postseason. I mean, just all these guys, Doogie, Glaber, they scrap across a lead, hold it out. We survive, and then game 5 is just I don't even think I ever felt that much joy in a while. Like
Unforgettable.
that was all I gotta say is like it was 2 things. It's the Stanton home run, which changed the game, I think. And then obviously Juancho, man. Juan Soto. Shohei Ohtani, yeah, he got 700 million. But this guy,
yeah,
I don't
good
care.
luck with
I
that.
do not care what he asked for.
You give it to him.
Give it to him.
You
That
give it
is
to him.
the one of the clutchest hits I have ever seen in my life. that is, I'm still watching it today. Just
Mhm.
unbelievable. So it was just bottom line. My heart was just beating way too hard. I'm glad kind of have this week to just kind of breathe a little bit. So yeah, I don't know. I'm stealing a little bit too much of the emotion. I should let Wade talk, but
Yeah.
it was just too much. It was too much for me. But I'm glad we won because my health is in good hands for another 4 days.
I mean, yeah, that 5 game series felt like it took 3 years to finish. I mean, first 2 games, yeah. I mean, in New York with the home crowd feeling really good. Um, both games we won by 3, so wasn't it was a little tense, but we got through it, right? And I mean, just like what Matt said, once we got to Cleveland,
Oh my
man,
God.
just every single one of those games, I think I ended up having like a pretty crazy headache because it was just yelling and stressing, texting Matt, like, what is this guy doing? Um, what was it? Game 4, that was, I mean, yeah, it was a tough loss, but, or not, was it game 4? No.
We lost
Game,
three,
game
game
3, game
three,
Game
3,
yeah.
three.
sorry. Yeah. Game 3 was a tough loss. Went through a lot of emotions, very roller coaster, but didn't feel stressed at all. I think it was good for us to realize, like, yeah, this is playoffs. We nothing's gonna give it to us. We gotta work through it, work through every game, and I'm really happy for that they fought through all of those Cleveland games in Cleveland because of what is going to be coming up next in the World Series. And yeah, I think just we as it was very team baseball, which doesn't really feel like the Yankees all the time. The lower half of the lineup really stepped up, getting on base. You had, I mean, Glaber. I hated Glaber during the season, but he's probably one of the best leadoff hitters right now in the postseason. And yeah, Stanton is just might be the greatest postseason hitter of
That's the
all
guy
time.
I rag on, and now
Yeah.
he's the playoff goat, right?
So I mean, yeah, like you just have those guys. We just had those guys that stepped up that weren't necessarily the go-to guys in the regular season. And yeah, just Anthony Volpe, my God, that guy is just getting on base, walks, hard line drives. Even when he gets out, he's always a threat. He's really pushing um the he's really putting the pressure on throughout the lineup, so which is really great. And I guess just our bullpen, unbelievable stuff. Game 4, putting in leader at the end, or game 5, or
Both of them, right? Yeah, he
yeah,
pitched
or
both.
leader came in that really high leverage situation, almost through 2 innings. Um, wasn't even on the roster the day before. Like it's moments like that, players like that that really get you through the postseason. And man, I have not felt this good as a Yankees fan since, I don't know, 15 years ago when I was only like 8 years old. So new experience, new feeling, but I'm, yeah, really excited for this World Series to happen.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it'll definitely be a good one. Um, it was a good series, the whole way. Unlike my series in the CS, well, okay, it went longer. It went 6 games, but I don't think there was a single game where it came down. It wasn't until the game 6 that there was actually a save situation. Um, so, you know, for the most part, it was like either we had no chance or we were pretty handedly gonna win, right? Um, so didn't get to experience that. But I will say I already experienced enough of that in the Padres series, okay? Because I
Yeah, that's
thought,
true. That's true.
we were down 2-1
Yeah.
Yeah,
going,
yeah.
in San Diego when it's like, oh my gosh, is it gonna happen again? Like that feeling, that was such a bad feeling, I gotta say. Going into that game 4, oh man, I was so nervous and so stressed because it's like, is this really gonna happen again? Shohei's first year with the team, I could just see all of the media posts that were gonna come out. Dodgers choke again. Dave Roberts, his job in question. Is Shohei enough to help this team? Dodgers front office, the training staff can't keep guys help. Like I could see all of it, right? But for them to come back from that, um, even against this Mets series, I'd never felt like as antsy as I did in that NLDS. But yeah, getting to some of the games, I mean, essentially we won the way that I said we would have to win. I think all of Dodgers Nation knew we had to win, and that's by out hitting the Mets, right? They didn't have the bullpen talent that the Padres had. Starting pitching, that was supposed to kind of be more of their strength. At times looked really good, but at times, looked really bad. I mean, Kodai Senga, kind of tough, asking a lot from him. Barely pitched the entire year, and you're gonna have him out there for game one. Shamanaya, case of two games, essentially similar with Jack Flaherty, right? One gem and one dud. Um, but yeah, kind of just getting into this series. I will say it was encouraging to see so many different guys at different moments, come up and have big hitting performances going into the World Series now because, Shohei stayed, got hot, was on base a lot. Mookie found his stroke. Teoscar, who had struggled throughout the entire series, finally turned on in game four. I think he had every one of his hits was hit pretty hard. I think, or no strikeouts at least, which was good. And you guys know about Teoscar Hernandez, so I don't need to say too much about him going up against the Yankees, but he's going to be a big key for us. And even without Freddie, I mean, we go 3-0 without Freddie in the lineup, guys stepping up. Tommy Edman, hello? NLCS MVP,
NLCS
Tommy Edman?
Unbelievable.
Like, where did that come from? But he's swinging a really hot bat and he's so valuable, obviously defensively, but, even at the cleanup spot, you ask him to lay down a sacrifice bunt, he's going to do it, like things like that, that are so encouraging to see out of this offense. We can beat you by, getting walks, putting the ball in play. We can also beat you with the long ball. We can also steal bases, right? It's just, we're going to need every single one of those aspects playing against the Yankees. Because let's be honest, I think we'll get to it later, but pitching advantage, starting pitching, definitely going to lean towards the Yankees. But yeah, it was just really encouraging to see that, yeah, okay, we might have some bad games here and there, but every single game they were able to put up runs. And so that is the encouraging thing moving forward, knowing how locked in this team is offensively, how well, they're seeing the ball for the most part. So that's the good part. And then I have to give credit to Dave Roberts again, who has gone through so much scrutiny with all the winning he's been doing in the regular season. But to come up short the past 2 years, I know he's heard all the noise. But for him to manage, really, I thought the pitching staff throughout this series, a lot of people had some questions, but I think the end justified the means to a certain extent with game two and in game five, where, the Mets, credit to them, they jumped all over our pitching staff. And they really had a tough decision to throw the quote unquote lower leverage guys to have them eat up innings, or are you going to, try to keep this team in it and pitch some of the higher leverage guys? But I think I got to give him credit for sticking to his plan, knowing he was going to have that bullpen game in game six, for him to, stick with his guns. And yeah, it might have seemed questionable in the moment because the Dodgers, Andy Pages hits 2 home runs. It's like, oh, well, they're right back in it. Why isn't he going to use, like a Trinan or a Kopech to keep the game close? But he had a plan, executed it. Luckily, in the end, it worked out. So really tough when you only have 3 starting pitchers out of your projected, I don't know, 7 or 8 guys you thought you would have had at the beginning of the year. I mean, no Glass now, no Gavin Stone, Kershaw is gone, right? Dustin May doesn't come back. The list goes on and on. But for him to be able to manage what he has right now, I mean, we only had one lefty. Think about that. Coming out of the bullpen, we only had Anthony Banda throughout the whole series. Alex Vesia gets hurt against the Padres. He doesn't pitch the whole series. So to have one lefty against, a really good team, I think that speaks testament to the job that the pitching staff and Dave Roberts as a whole did. But yeah, it was a good win for us. Feeling good. So I think it's time to just preview this World Series, right? Like, let's talk some ball before it gets nasty on Friday. At least we have a couple days that things are still civil between all of us here. We can all be happy and enjoy this moment that we get to cherish the fact that we get the Dodgers Yankees.
We got the pennants, right?
Exactly.
AL pennant,
so
NL pennant.
good to kind of just acknowledge that from here. But yeah, we can kind of start off with a little bit of a preview. So I'll just maybe throw it over to you guys. Before we get super in depth comparing everything, just this season as a whole, how did I know you were confident going into the year, but as the year kind of went on, I'm just curious, did each of you kind of have that moment where it's like, oh, this team can actually go out there and compete for the World Series? Because, you're always good on paper. There's no denying that. I think playoffs were always an expectation with this team. Getting this far was probably an expectation, but when was that moment for each of you that kind of clicked like, oh, wait, this team can win the World Series?
Well, I'll go first because I thought after like the first week, I was like, we can win the World Series. Like we're playing great. And then if we can, we had the best record in baseball for like what 2 months, and then after that, it was like I don't even think we can make the playoffs. It was just so bad, so many dark days in summer. So it was a yes, no, and then I guess yes again towards the end of the season. But I'll say on that question, truthfully, was when they got the closer thing figured out. It was when they inserted Weaver as the closer. I know he doesn't like to say he's the closer, but as that guy to finish games or get the big outs. That's when it was kind of like, yeah, this guy he's built for it. And it's nothing against Clay. Not all guys can be that ninth inning guy. And Clay has shown he's better when he's, in the sixth or the seventh inning. Like he was thriving in that. So it was like all the pieces fit just a little better. And I think, obviously if you're in contention, you're buying at the deadline. Jazz was doing okay at that point as our big acquisition. So I was like, okay, we got a decent lead in the division. We got our bullpen figured out. Our rotation is relatively healthy. Judge is doing his thing. Soto's doing his thing. Like, and Glaber in the leadoff spot has been a tone setter. So I was like, okay, we can compete for this. We got a chance. So it's like that late mid August, early September. I was like, okay, I'm back on board. Honestly, there was like 3 months of gray for me in the summer.
Okay. What about you, Wade? Did you
Yeah, I
have a
think
moment?
I was almost right there with you. I mean, we sweep the Astros opening weekend, right? And it's
Yeah,
like,
I
oh
thought
my
we were
God,
winning it all.
like we're gonna get 100 wins. We're gonna win the AL East with no problem. First seed, easy way to the World Series. See from there, right? And then it feels like we just broke down. I don't know when that point was, but it felt like we just could not get it together. And it was the lineups we were putting out, the decisions out of the bullpen, like from Boone. It was just really, really frustrating for me. And then come after the All-Star break, I think we just picked up Jazz around there, and we sweep the Phillies, which were probably the best team in baseball at that time. And it just felt like, okay, we have new blood, we have people coming in doing their job, just playing a little bit cleaner baseball. And then as soon as that last month started to come in, it just felt like a different team. And I know when we s- we were beating the teams we were supposed to beat, it felt like we had a chance because we were playing discipline, playing a lot better, playing with, I don't know, a little bit more juice now that the playoffs coming around. And yeah, I mean, it was a very roller coaster season. I was scared that what was that 2022 was gonna happen again.
That's what it
Like,
was looking like for
yeah,
me.
that's what it felt like, right? And thank goodness Aaron Judge is Aaron Judge and Juan Soto is Juan Soto. Like without either of those two together, like if it was just one of them, I feel like the season would have been over. We wouldn't have anything going. We'd just be falling out behind. But just having your two superstars kind of carry you to that point where you needed to get, and then having the rest of the team click, it just it felt different coming into the playoffs for sure.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like you said, up and down for you guys. And I mean, for me, it maybe wasn't as quite as up and down throughout the regular season, but I'll just say, it's unfortunately it gets taken for granted during the regular season as a Dodgers fan, where you just expect to win and you expect to make the playoffs. So when, we're doing good, there's no real sense of like, oh yeah, things look good. I'll say that with how they've choked and just kind of their history, like just being, real as a Dodgers fan, right? The past 2 years were hard um, to lose to divisional rivals. Going back to even, Kershaw, who had been shaky in the playoffs when I was growing up, seeing him struggle in the playoffs. And it's hard because it's like Peyton Manning, Clayton Kershaw. I was both fans of both those guys, and they had the same narrative, right? They're regular season guys who can't perform in the playoffs. So really hard. And with that always in the back of my mind, it isn't really until they have a defining playoff moment that it's like, oh, wait, this year is going to be different. It's not just a good regular season and then lose. So I'll say the two kind of moments for me. One, while it was a regular season, was that clinching game we had against the Padres to clinch the NL West. We're down. Offense is stagnant, not doing anything, and then boom, out of nowhere, we get a Will Smith home run, and finally seeing the emotion down the stretch, um, out of the Dodgers towards the end of the regular season, and that was talked about from the analysts to a lot of Dodgers fans, like, hey, wait, Will Smith is showing emotion after a hit, because it was always so businesslike the past several years. It's winning is expected. You know, have this we've been there mentality, very professional. But sometimes, you I don't want to say you lose part of the joy of the game by doing that, but when you're always, told to keep it so professional, wait, I think, I don't know how HBA was over there, but I can say from playing high school ball in Honolulu, like there was a certain expectation of how you were present yourself on the field, right? And so I just feel like sometimes, while it's good to be able to keep steady, it you lose some of the positives of having like an adrenaline boost when you always have to keep things so businesslike. So when I saw that, I'm like, wait a minute, this team it's different. The culture is different for whatever reason. I don't know if it's Shohei showing off some of the emotion now, but it just feels like something got unlocked and this team was playing with more joy and passion. Mookie's pumped up, Shohei's pumped up. These guys are so hyped up. So that was kind of the first moment we clinched the West. And I'll be honest, when we won that game 4 against the Padres, like and blanked them, like how we did in San Diego, with how loud the crowd was going to be in a bullpen game too, like that for me was, oh yeah, we're gonna get game 5. I didn't care who was on the mound. I know it was Yoshi who had a rough time, but after that game 4, I was like, oh, that was the hump. We just got over the hump. Um, I know we still have to win game 5, but it just felt like we had sucked all the air out of the Padres and we took all the momentum and finally got the monkey off of our backs, right? Dave's job was secured, everything else, all the narratives. Mookie, his poor playoff performances the past several years were gone. It was all erased. So for me, it was those two moments. And now, yeah, obviously feeling really confident, even with our current situation about this team. But wasn't as much of a roller coaster for you guys. But I think my moment of realization came a little bit later. So, yeah. But I don't know. I don't know if you wanted to talk about this, Matt, really quick. Why we're each fans of the teams we're fans of. Um, I'll just say Dodgers. It was because I went to a Dodgers game. I actually didn't even really have a favorite team yet. I think I used to like the Cubs just from like playing 2004 MLB. It wasn't the
Slugfest.
show back then. No, it wasn't even
It
Slugfest.
was 2K, right? Wasn't it like 2K?
No, it was like MLB baseball. I think that was the
Oh.
name of the game. Um, anyway, yeah, because I think they had Sammy Sosa, so I liked them. Um, Yeah, but it wasn't until I went to a Dodgers game in person and I felt the crowd and how fun it was to cheer for, that home team. And it just so happened it was the Dodgers, for one of my first games. So it was easy choice for me. But I know we always have weird ways of choosing our favorite teams, especially being from Hawaii. So I don't know Wade's, but I don't know if I really know yours, Matt. Why you like the Yankees?
Well, I think like every kid growing up, like our age, like kind of know like, hey, who's this guy, Derek Jeter? Like, just he's like the Kobe Bryant of baseball at that time, I think. So everyone kind of knows him. You kind of following him, but it was more me kind of relating it to how I played because you know, second baseman, shortstop. That was my position, primarily second base. But I'm a birthday guy. 24, second base. Kind of like this Jeter guy. Who's that guy at second base, man? He's pretty slick. I think everybody knows me. He's my favorite athlete of all time, over LeBron, even Jeter. It's Cano. Like just watching Robinson Cano, he was my favorite player to watch, my idol. I tried to be like him literally in every way, like on the field. Didn't turn out that way, but that's who I tried to be like. I looked up to Robbie Cano, don't you know? So, I was really heartbroken when he left the Yankees. I was so sad, and then we got freaking Ellsbury, but we'll save that for another day. But it was really just the Jeter and Cano. Like that was the best middle infield duo I've ever seen, with chemistry and the way that they worked. So for me, it was those two guys, man, and they're on the Yankees, and I'm sticking with them. Even if Cano left, I could have left with him, but nope, pinstripe till I die. I will say though, on your Dodger Stadium point, that's the second best stadium in terms of crowd, like atmosphere. Very like if you want to go to a baseball game, Dodger Stadium is one of the places to be. Except Yankee Stadium, that's the best.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. I don't know, Wade, do you want to share yours?
Yeah, I mean, I was a Derek Jeter fan too for like, you know, since ever since I got into baseball. Um, I also really liked Hideki just because, he's
Godzilla.
Japanese, I'm Japanese. Like, oh, dude, this guy's super good, whatever, right? But yeah, I think ever since then, I've always been a Yankees guy. Derek Jeter. Not really much else to say about that.
I feel
Okay.
like that's most Yankee fans though. It's
Yeah.
it's the Jeter in our era.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Um, well, with that being said, let's get into some of the nitty-gritty breakdowns of what we think of the series overall. Um, so let's start with what we say always wins baseball, and that's pitching, especially in the postseason, especially starting pitching in the postseason. So I think there's no, you know, debate here. I would just say that for me, it definitely feels like the Yankees have the advantage in starting pitching. I mean, you can just go to health, first of all, right? They have more of their top guys. I mean, you don't have all of them, but I would say you have more of your top starters ready and available. And I think Garrett Cole has pitched well for you guys. Maybe not lights out like you would have loved to see, but
Enough.
enough. To where I think you have an advantage there. Um, the one thing I guess I will say is that it's so hard for me to bring this up, but at least Yamamoto has had one good game against you guys. But now I'm like, I don't know if that's good or bad because you guys got to see him already, and it's been so studied now. I'm sure they've been doing so much research on what happened in that game. So it's always hard to, beat a team twice in a series, but I feel like it's also harder when they have a little bit of info on you, firsthand. So that's when I was like, oh, it's good. He had success, but at the same time, it's like, oh, he had success, so now they know. how to kind of game plan around that. But it's always different, scouting and then going out there and executing. But I don't know. I would say probably Yankees have a little bit more of an advantage just having, first of all, more starters readily available because who are you gonna roll out? It's gonna be Cole. I would imagine Rodon. Heel is
Schmidt,
gonna go third, or
Probably
Schmidt and
Schmidt.
Heel.
Steele, and then we have Stroman and Nestor. That'll be
Yeah,
like if
Nestor might come back.
they'll probably be our long inning guys. So if we ever get in trouble in the first one, two, 3 innings, I'm sure they're probably gonna get their number called. But
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely a luxury to have a guy like Marcus Stroman be the emergency pitcher in any scenario. He could have easily been one of the starters, I think. But yeah, so to have that, definitely a luxury versus us. We have to we can only roll out three starters essentially. And there's going to have to be another, more bullpen games mixed in for us, which obviously you never want to have to rely on in a World Series, but it is what it is. That's the situation. So I don't think there's too much debate there. But I will say that I think it'll be interesting to see not so much even Garrett Cole because I think we know what kind of Garrett Cole we're gonna get. But for me, the question mark is gonna be Rodon because sometimes he looks like he's so dominant, and then in the blink of one inning, the wheels just fall off. Right? I think like he can go 3 innings, have like 7 strikeouts. Like, oh man, this guy is dealing. Then second time around, the order comes up, and then for whatever reason, the wheels fall off. Um, and I think that's going to be the same kind of for our guys. Actually, I'm the most confident in Walker Bueller actually, just because of how it looks like he's back to almost an older Walker Bueller, but just the experience that he has at the highest level in the World Series. I actually trust him the most up until this point. Flaherty's kind of the guy for me where I'm very nervous because he could be great or he could be terrible, kind of same thing. Um, but yeah, for me, the guy to watch out for is definitely Rodon. Because I think he's going to be huge for game 2 for you guys. In LA, especially. But yeah, I don't know. That's where I'm feeling on starting pitching, unless I don't know if you guys had any comments on that one.
I mean, I think so. I think it's
Yeah.
pretty straightforward, at least on paper.
Yeah.
On paper.
Yeah, on paper. And then getting to the bullpen, this one was a little bit tough for me. So I'll just say I watched obviously more of the Dodgers series, but I was watching, some of the later innings of the Yankees Guardians, and I just think that as good as the Yankees, bullpen was, I just thought that a lot of times I didn't like some of the swings and some of the approaches that the Guardians batters were taking later in the game. So for me, especially with Canely, like that was kind of the key for me, right? Watching Canely, he's thrown how many changeups in a row, whatever the case is, right?
40
And I know,
something,
and it's a good pitch,
42, I
right?
think.
It's a good pitch, right? I will give you that. Um, it's been good. It's been working for him. But for me, it was just the lack of ability for the Cleveland batters to not make an adjustment. Like what do they think? Like they're thinking, oh, now he's finally going to throw me a fastball, and here they are lunging and reaching out for the pitch again, right? Like at a certain point, are we not going to say, hey, let's look for the changeup? If he gives us a fastball, okay, well he throws us a fastball, whatever. 2 strikes, I'm still looking changeup, but hey, fastball, I'm going to trust that I can foul something off. But it was just a constant oh, this is going to be the fastball, and then they're reaching, or like that. That to me was as well as Canely pitched was kind of a nod to what are these Cleveland batters kind of looking for? What are they doing? Like, are we not going to make some kind of adjustment? Um, and so just kind of that, and with how Weaver had been so dominant until the wheels kind of fall off. And you guys got Clay Holmes, who is one of your supposed leverage guys, right?
Could be. He
But
could be good. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll see. But
Coin
you
flip.
know,
He's good in the right situation,
Yeah,
I think.
yeah.
I think you know, Cousins looked really good for you guys. Um,
Tim
not
Hill,
Mesa. Mesa's okay. Yeah, Hill, the other
Tim
Oh,
Hill,
lefty.
don't talk about Tim Mesa in front of
Timmy
me.
Hill,
Yeah, yeah, Hill. He's
Timothy.
yeah, he
Timothy.
looked good as well. But I just think that I don't know if talent wise is fair to say, but just the situations that the Dodgers relievers have had to be in this year, um, you know, I just think we have a little bit more in the arsenal, right? We got Kopech, we got Trinan, we got Phillips, all guys that are arguably start closers on any other team. Then you have the lefty specialists. We got Bonda. Vesia sounds like he could be coming back, and he has shut down lefties all year. And we have a little bit more, of the intermediate guys as well, like Hudson, that we can throw. Potentially, Graterol is going to be coming back, and we know he throws, how he can throw. I just think we have a little bit more, in the arsenal than the Yankees. But I do also respect the Yankees bullpen. I think it's better than the Mets for sure. A little bit more guys that they can go to, but I don't know. Just if we're comparing straight bullpen to bullpen, um, I just think because of how we had to build this bullpen, we have the slight edge there. So I'm gonna give it to the Dodgers.
I just want to make a quick note. Yeah, I agree with you. You guys, the Dodgers bullpen has the talent, right? They have those individual guys, lockdown guys that you are very reliable on. But all I have to say is the lack of lefties coming into this series, I think, is
Oh
what
yeah,
is
big
going to
deal.
kill you guys. Because I mean, I feel like it's kind of well known already. The Yankees can't really hit left-handed pitchers very well. Um, and I think just the matchup itself kind of is going to be really interesting. I do think the Dodgers probably have the edge bullpen wise, but regarding the matchup with the hitters that we have, I think it's going to be pretty interesting how that goes. Um, but yeah, I think it's pretty close still. I mean, bias.
Yeah,
I'm trying not to be biased, but um, like I think in the right situation, if Boone can push the right buttons, we can compete with pretty much like almost any bullpen, you know? So it's gonna be interesting. Um, and I think too, I said this in the during the NLD or ALDS for us, it was getting the starting pitching out early, getting ahead early. And I think this is gonna be the same case because I feel like Yamamoto is gettable. I feel like depending on the day, Flaherty is
oh, he's
gettable.
definitely, yeah.
Um, it feels like Bueller, even if he throws lights out, his defense fails him. Like there's there's a lot to look forward to about the for the matchups. But yeah, it's all about scoring early, right? And getting your that first guy out and reaching deep in the pen as soon as you can. So yeah, it's kind of my take on that.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I think the Dodgers on paper, I'll give them the edge in terms of the high leverage guys. Then one thing you want, and really the Yankees lacked this all year, and frustrated me that they never got a guy that could do this. Is you got to get a guy that can strike people out in the bullpen, like power pitching, like Michael Kopech. Like you guys go to get him at the deadline. You know, Trinan's got swing and miss stuff. Phillips, when he's right, has swing and miss stuff. So I don't see Weaver as like he's gonna strike out the side kind of guy. Like he's gonna, he's very accurate. I think he can hit his spots, and get weak contact. I think that's the way the Yankees are really getting people out. But I like swing and miss. When it comes in the playoffs, I think for situational hitting, that's why if there's a runner on third and one out, I would like a guy that can strike out, a batter, right? Not give up the ground ball or a sac fly, because in the playoffs, every run counts. So I'll give you the edge there. But, I will say one thing, maybe the Yankees' advantage and Wade touched on it, is the lack of lefties. But I watched Manaya pitch against Otani. Kind of that almost he's throwing like sidearm, right? Kind of a sidearm delivery. And Otani struggled against Manaya. Really, that was
Well,
the
the
only guy
first
that,
game, the
yeah.
first game.
Well, even I would say even the game six, like he had the nice approach, but it found a hole. I'll give him that. It made a difference. He adjusted, but it's still you could have said, well, if it was hit in the right spot, right? It wasn't like he hit a ball off the wall like a rocket, right? So I'm gonna say, Tim Hill, that might be our guy to I think neutralize Otani. Just I think he's gonna be that specialist. He's not Tanner Scott, right? He's not gonna throw 100 miles an hour, but can he locate a pitch to get Otani to ground out to second and roll over? Because I think that's where you can get Otani. Is sometimes he gets too pull happy, get him on in front a little bit, and with that slot release, the delivery, it gave him a little bit of fits with Manaya. So I think there's a little bit of similarity with Tim Hill's delivery that I'll be looking out for. I think that might be a chess piece that we can exploit at least a couple times. Hopefully, we're not going to slow him down the entire series, but hopefully a couple of situations we can kind of avoid that big hit from Shohei. So I think every team has these pieces. I think, but yeah, I'm a huge guy swing and miss. I need swing and miss, so I got to give the edge to the Dodgers there.
Yeah. And then yeah, just offensively, honestly, I was going back and forth. I think how these rosters are kind of built are very similar. I mean, you want to talk about payroll, obviously these are the two highest payrolls, right? Actually, are the Yankees number two or are the Mets
We're
number two?
third.
Oh, you're third. Okay,
Or
so
Yankees are
third,
number two.
so it's the first and third, um, highest payrolls. But just looking at top to bottom, roster construction, I feel like it's pretty similar. You got the stars up top. You got a lot of guys that are get on base guys. A lot of good lefties sprinkled in there, and then you have some intangible guys. For you guys, I think it's going to come down to the bottom of the order guys, probably just like us, right? Who's going to be the X factor that shows up? Is it going to be a Volpe? Is it going to be a Verdugo? Or is it going to be a Kike? Is it going to be potentially a Pajes kind of guy that is going to step up? And then you have your playoff performers, right? You got Giancarlo Stanton, who turns into a different beast. You got, guys like Max Muncy this postseason who have been hot, seeing the ball really well. So honestly, I expect fireworks. I expect close series, or a close game in almost every game. But to me, if we want to just talk about, X factors, so the two scenarios I do want to bring up, one being the player and one being kind of an aspect of the game you're kind of looking for. So I'll let you guys each pick an X factor for your team. And let's do offensively because I know, pitching it is going to be what it is, right? Obviously we need the pitchers to show up, but the one guy that I'm kind of looking for in this series, and it's weird to call him an X factor, but I'm gonna say Freddie Freeman. And I know it's like, oh, Freddie Freeman X factor, right? He's an MVP. Obviously, I get that, but really, it's gonna come down to how he is feeling with that ankle because he's gonna almost force himself into the starting lineup, right? But at what point, is he going to have to produce to warrant being out on the field? The defense is going to be there. I think he doesn't need to move as much at first base. Luckily, he's still a gold glove, caliber type of defender at first base. But if the swing isn't there, like, I think it's going to be so hard for Dave to have to pull him in a World Series game. So really, like, he's going to be hitting third or fourth in that lineup. That's a huge spot, right? And so I just think, obviously everyone's going to have to produce or, guys are going to have to come through clutch when it matters. That's just baseball, right? That's just baseball in general. Who's going to come up with the hits when it counts? But for me, like with how bad Freddie had been kind of throughout that series, forcing Dave to pull him out, Like that's the one guy that never really got going, right? Like I was saying earlier, all these guys had moments. Kike had moments. Even Pajes had a 2 home run game. Tommy Edman, the MVP. Teoscar finds it late. Freddie's been kind of the guy. It's like, okay, Freddie, I know your ankle's killing you, but if you're gonna be in the lineup in the World Series, what's it gonna look like? You know? And I hate to even have to say that because his track record and the professional that he is and the type of player that he is, but I mean, he's just not 100%, and I don't know what kind of product he's going to be able to put out on the field. So for me, my player, it's weirdly enough, it's going to have to be a banged up Freddie Freeman. So that's what I'm looking out for. But Matt, I'll flip it to you first. Player that on your Yankees hitting wise that you think is going to be the X factor.
I think, well, I'm between two. I think. I think I gotta say it, but I think it's Glaber. I think Glaber Torres is the key to this offense right now because when he gets on, it just sets up Soto, Judge. It just puts so much pressure on the defense to react to what's going to happen. And obviously, any one of those guys can connect. So I think Glaber just being a good leadoff hitter, if he doesn't have to just get hits, like he's been scrapping for walks, right? Even his outs sometimes, he'll get a 6, 7 pitch at bat, hard line drive, he's out. Nothing you can do about that. But I think, if he's consistent and staying locked in, I'm going to like our chances to produce, I think. So I'm going to go with Glaber on the offensive side for me.
Okay.
I think I was almost gonna say that too, but I think I think mine might be Jazz.
That was my other guy.
Yeah. Okay. See, we're pretty much on the same page. Jazz
Crazy.
has been very bad in the postseason so far. Um, kind of feels like, with our lineup, it feels like we're one or two guys away from being almost like unstoppable. And just because he's such a lethal weapon on base with his speed, base stealing, scoring from first, scoring from first on maybe like a double or something, like just having him on base would be so big. But also, it's kind of like we've seen it so many times so far this postseason. Glaber and Soto get on, right? Judge strikes out probably. Stanton, who knows what Stanton's gonna do? Hopefully he stays hot. But then just having Jazz come up behind Stanton, like it feels like a automatic out already. But you never want, right? You get your first two guys on first inning, have a chance to score early, and then your four, three, four, five go down swinging or something. Like if Jazz can just give that little bit more protection, even after Stanton, if they don't want to pitch to Stanton, that I think it's a completely different game. We score more runs, we're putting more pressure on. So yeah, I gotta say Jazz is my X factor.
Okay.
He
Yeah.
he might be the fourth batter.
Yeah, I mean, who
Might be
knows,
between
right?
Judge
Like
and Stanton.
if Boone still wants to go with the right left approach, right? I mean, it's hard to take Stanton out of that spot, but if Jazz can step up and be that protection, who knows? Who knows what'll happen?
Oh, yeah. Um, yeah, those are two good ones. I figured Glaber would have been in there just because, like you said, how well he's been performing, getting on base, putting pressure on the defense, and pitchers to make pitches. But the next one, I just kind of wanted to bring up just because we're baseball guys, a little bit deeper level of thinking about the game, and I was kind of going back and forth on this, but for me, um, the biggest quote unquote X factor kind of overall for this Dodgers team, and I think is going to be the difference, honestly, in winning and losing the series is going to be how well um, I guess it's kind of a mix. It's like mastering the strike zone, but really it's just extending the starting pitcher's outing as much as they can. So I don't know how much you were able to listen to the Fox broadcast, right, with Joe Davis and John Smoltz, but they touched on it essentially the whole series. The Dodgers grind out at bats, right? Like they really try to condense the strike zone. They're good at and comfortable hitting with two strikes. A lot of their damage we've done on two strikes, two outs this year, and I just think that the faster we can get the starting pitchers out of there, if we can have a Garrett Cole who's gonna be good, there's no doubt about that. But if we can get him, to rack up the pitch count early, I just think it puts Boone in a tough situation, right? It's like we're gonna let him, stay out there, but you gotta also keep in mind it's a 7 game series. And I think that's going to be a big thing. And also, what I think it's going to do is allow some of the Dodgers to get a little bit more comfortable in seeing the Yankees pen guys earlier and often. And so that for me, it's going to be the big thing because honestly they struggled against Diaz a lot, but Stanek, another guy that came in early in the Mets series, dominated them. But after seeing him a couple times, they were kind of more used to what he was going to be out there throwing. And I think that just by the time Game 5 and 6 rolled around was such an advantageous aspect that the Dodgers had on that bullpen. So I think that same thing where we don't have the pitching, so to try to match that, it's going to be really swinging at strikes, not chasing out of the zone, extending at bats, getting walks. They set, I don't know if they set the record or something for the most walks in a playoff series, but it was something ridiculous like that with how much they were walking, taking pitches, being comfortable with two strikes, grinding out at bats to just get, four, five, six ball at bats. And so I think that's going to be a big thing for the Dodgers. But basically, if we allow, a guy like Garrett Cole to go seven and you can only throw two relievers, like that's going to be trouble for us throughout, the series. So for me, it is, yeah. Can we get the starting pitchers to throw 80, 90, 100 pitches? Because if not, I think that might be the big thing for us in this series. So
I
I don't
think
know if you
that's
had something like
important
that.
too. Well, I think for us, I think that's a cliche. I think you can say that for our side too, right? You can get Yamamoto out coming off an injury. Kind of, I think it works the same way. But watching the Yankees, the way that we're going to beat the Dodgers is just don't beat yourself. Just don't beat yourself. Play your game,
Yeah.
and you'll be fine. And what I mean by that is don't get out on the bases. That's
Mm,
where it's been killing us this postseason. We've been able to survive it, but the Dodgers is a different beast. Like you cannot be getting thrown out on the bases and making two outs in an inning on the bases. Like that's free outs for the Dodgers. You're gifting them outs. And that's the one thing you cannot do that. It just cannot happen. First inning, if it's 50-50, hold the guy at third. I'll take second and third, no outs with my big bats coming up versus a bang bang at the plate. Maybe I score, maybe I don't. But I might get one out. And I think outs in the playoffs matter. So I'm gonna say base running for us. Like we just don't beat ourselves. That's what Yankees are. It's so frustrating when they're bad because it's always the case. They beat
Work out.
themselves.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think just to offer, I guess, a different answer perspective, I agree with the don't beat ourselves, but um it's hitting with runners in scoring position, right? Like
Yep.
the
Fundamentals.
NLDS, man, I think we were what, over, or I don't know, every game felt like we're 0 for 10 or whatever with runners in scoring on position, and all our runs came from like, your big hits from Stanton and everything, which is so fun to watch, but just getting like a single, right? Hitting a single with a man on second and third, 2 runs instead of strikeout pop up, like broken bat, whatever, out of the inning, right? Like just you can't really change your approach, but just putting the ball in play and hitting it hard somewhere, right? It's not always hit a home run, hit a home run. Just Stanton, sure, you can let him do that, but everyone else on the team, they just have to find the timely hits and just keep keep the line moving, which is, I guess every team wants to do that, but yeah, I think the Yankees are very not good at that.
They're bad
So
at it. They're
yeah,
bad.
very bad. I mean, you
They're
look at the
bad.
Guardians, right? They put the ball in play. They're like the luck merchants, right? They broken bat, flares, um, jam shots, infield hits. Like they get on base somehow. But the Yankees, it never happens. It feels like it never happens.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. Um, and I just think it's funny because really what it may come down, I mean, it's I really think this is so evenly matched, no matter how you want to look at this series, but I just think it's funny that at the end of this series, one of these managers is gonna shake a stigma, right? Like either Aaron Boone is gonna have you can't say shit about him after the if he wins the World Series, like good
No,
luck complaining, guys.
still fire him. You
Good
still
luck
gotta fire him.
complaining, guys,
Still
because
have
guess
to
what?
fire him.
You're gonna be stuck with him for the next 5 years or something. If he wins a World Series, no shot they're gonna turn it over
We're not
anytime
going
soon.
back. We're not going back if we
Anytime soon.
re-hire him.
So just so you know that. And then I mean same for the Dodgers. No, I think honestly Dave secured his position no matter how this thing kind of shakes out. Even if we lose this World Series, like with as much as he had to deal with to get to this point is so impressive in itself. I think he bought a lot, but World Series would just kind of take the cake of okay, there's no doubting him anymore either, right? Like he'll have two World Series. One, you people call it the Mickey Mouse World Series, even though, like I said, with the bubble, everyone had the same freaking opportunity, right, to go win that World Series. So you go do it. But yeah, I mean, I think both managers are the narrative is going to shift greatly for both of these guys after or one of these guys, as I should say. Um, I think if yeah, it's going to be a little more harsh for Aaron Boone. I think if you do
Oh,
end up
if we
losing,
lose, he's getting fired.
okay,
He
I don't know
has
about
to
that
be
one.
fired.
I don't know
No,
about that one.
he has to be fired, Kent.
I truthfully think that because they're in the World Series, he secured his
He's
job
the,
for
I think
at
so.
But
least
yeah,
another
that's my
year.
worst fear. That's my worst fear. Like he's already good. Like
Did you not
past
hear
things
what
happen to him.
Hal
Yeah.
Steinbrenner
Oh
said?
yeah,
He's
we got
like,
a great leader out there. Shut up, hell. You don't know shit.
Well, I just think it'll be fun. It'll be fun to see how it all shakes out. I think it's going to go a while, but I mean, we don't really have to see our predictions. We know who's going to win, or we know whose predictions we have winning. Obviously, you guys have the Yankees. Obviously, I'm going to have the Dodgers. Um, I'm going to say, um, weirdly, I just have a weird feeling that it won't go seven. I'm going to go Dodgers in six. I don't know if you guys are going to go Yankees, and I don't think anyone's anticipating
I
a
was
sweep.
I was
So
gonna say six because
Yankees in six.
I think we take one
One of these
in
first
LA.
two.
Yeah, and then we um yeah. I mean, hopefully it'll be 4-1. Like win the first game, lose the second game, sweep in New York. That would be
The
amazing.
dream.
That would be the dream. I don't even want to win both games in LA because I want to win at in New York.
what do you mean? You can still win in New
Well,
York if you
you
win.
have to.
Yeah,
It's because
Well,
it's 2-3-2.
yeah, you
oh
can
yeah, never
win
mind.
two in
No, no,
LA
yeah,
and
okay,
then.
yeah, you're right. No, yeah, let's just sweep them. But realistically, I think 6 or 7, more towards 6, but would not be surprised if this is a 7-game series.
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, but
Yeah, I
my
think
prediction is
Yankees
going
in
to be six.
7
Yankees in seven.
because I think if you can, I think they scrap for one of the two first two games. They split the first two, and then I think you win the home field advantage series. I don't know if you win all three, but you take 2 out of 3 if you win one in LA, and you go back to LA up 3-2. Just got to win 1 out of 2. I think that's where you want to be if you're the
Yeah.
Yankees. You want to go back to LA 3-2, 3-2 with the
Oh
lead.
yeah, I'll just say the only reason I'm saying Dodgers in six is because I think if we go seven, we're in trouble. Because at that point, we're gonna have used so many relievers, right? We're gonna have to throw a guy out there on short rest. I know it's all hands on deck, but I've been in game sevens before. It is not fun, right? In the World Series, it's not fun. But I just think if it goes seven, it's just gonna be too much exposure to the low and high leverage bullpen guys, no matter who we end up throwing out there, I think the Yankees hitters would just have caught on up until that point. I think a game seven would be really hard for us to win. I think if we do win, more than likely it's going to have to be in six. So that's why I had to throw out in seven. But yeah, I don't know, MVPs. So I mean, you guys, it's a little more clear cut. Um, I'll say I think mine with how he looked recently. Um,
Chris
I'll
Taylor.
just throw out a wild card. No, I'll throw out a wild card.
Least favorite player.
It's gonna have to be a guy that plays every day. But I know, it's not just because he had success. But let me go Teoscar. I just think he'd been so quiet throughout the NLCS. Finally turned it on at the right time, and I think he'll be locked in, dialed in again. And I hope, he does well against Rodon in that game too, because I think that's going to be his time to shine. So I'm going to give it to Teoscar. He's he's said it all year. He wants to play in the World Series. He wants to be there when the lights are the brightest. And I think this is going to be his series to take over. So I'm going to go Teoscar as my MVP. But I don't know. What about you, Wade?
I think
Easy answer.
I think it's gonna be one of two players or one of
Well,
three
duh.
players, right? The big three. But I think I want to go Aaron Judge. Um,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. His numbers against the Dodgers are pretty good. Um, he's been to the NLDS, he's been to the or sorry, he's been to the ALDS, he's been to the ALCS, but I think I wanna hope that just getting to the World Series is like, okay, I'm here. This is it. You know, like let me be Aaron Judge of the regular season. Let me just have the timely hits, the big home runs, just being the rock of this team. Because I mean, other than Soto, hopefully Stanton is October Stanton still, but can't really bank on that, you know? But yeah, I'm gonna go with Aaron Judge. Think think he really has a shot at it, and never seen him in the World Series, so who knows?
I'm gonna go with the partner in crime. I think
Gotta be Soto.
I think
I
Juancho,
would
man.
say Soto too.
Juancho, Juan Soto. He's been to the World Series. He's dominated in a World Series, but he hasn't got the World Series MVP with the Nationals. It was to Strasburg, and well deserved, by the way. I think this is what he needs. This is what he's missing. Right, Aaron Judge, he just wants the ring. Like he's trying to get the chip first. Soto, he's got his chip. He's trying to be the top dog, I think, and riding that high from the LCS home run. I don't think there's a pitcher in the world that he is afraid to face.
Oh, I don't think he ever was.
Nope.
Since he was 19 and came in the league, I
Yeah.
don't think he was scared of anyone.
I think this dude, I mean, there's just something about clutch. Like he feels the closest thing to like Jeter in the box to me. Like not even a home run. Like if I just need a hit, Juan Soto is going to be the guy for the Yankees. So give me
See,
Juancho, man.
I was thinking
Give
that
me
too,
Juancho.
but I think if Aaron Judge were to win it, it would be just the sheer amount of offense that he has the potential to produce. Like, he may not be the late game guy if we ever did have it, but I don't know, like 3 RBIs a game or something. Like, it doesn't feel impossible for him, just giving your team
I think
those
so.
insurance runs, those base runners or whatever, just the sheer amount of offense that he's gonna produce, I think will
So it's going to be a
outweigh.
stats. It's going to be a
I
stats
think,
Yeah,
wise
but
I think it
MVP
would be
instead of a
outweighing the
moment.
the one
I
moment
think the
kind of
moment,
guy.
I think the moment is going to be. That's
But
why Soto is going to get it.
yeah, no, which I agree. He's built for the big lights, right? The best stage in the world to play. But I think just the consistency and the potential offense that Aaron Judge can put up throughout an entire series, I think that's what gave me or told me to give him the edge. But, Juan Soto is that dude. He's probably gonna get what 650, 675 million, who knows? But yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, it'll be a good series. Wade, you can join in the bet with Randy, but me and Matt are gonna have a wager where the loser basically just has to buy the winner one of the World Series t-shirts. So that because it's like we see they got to wear the jersey of the other team, but it's like it's not a renewed rivalry or anything. It's not going to hurt me to put on a Yankees jersey or anything like that. So instead of embarrassing, it's just more rewarding the winner, even more so. So that'll be what me and Matt are going to do. But yeah, it'll be a good series. You can expect some instant game reactions almost out of every game from both Matt and I. Just because that's the most fun when the emotions are still raw after each game. But yeah, that'll pretty much wrap up our World Series talk. I know this is a long pod, but deservedly so with the magnitude of the situation. Um, but yeah, I don't know, Matt. Why don't we just run through our really quick stuff and then we can wrap it up.
All right. Jerry Jones Award of the Week. Got to give it to Emmanuel Clase. What a freaking bum. I mean, for him to honestly, so cringe. So cringe.
I don't know what happened.
It's not,
Did they
I'm not talking
Gary
about,
Carpenter.
it's not about him giving up the runs. Like nobody is going to be Mariano Rivera. So everybody put that to bed. He's going to give up runs. Every pitcher is going to get hit. That's not the thing. It's just the thing that he did after really just was like,
Hey, what did he
really?
do after?
The,
I don't
the
even know.
trophies. He was
He
like
went on
with his
Instagram
rings
and
and
he
he was
posted
like,
all his
Oh, I saw the
accolades.
rings.
Yeah, I'm
and
like,
then he had trophies in
really?
the background and stuff.
So he did that after
mm,
game 3. That was after Judge and Stanton. And then the next game,
oh,
he got absolutely shelled again.
okay, yeah. I did see that. I didn't. I thought that was an old thing. I didn't know he did that during the. Okay, yeah, it's a little tough. Yeah.
That's just a
All right.
little cringe, I think. So it's like,
Yeah.
come on, dude. Like, you're just admitting to the world that your psyche is gone.
Mm,
And you don't think the Yankees, somebody got a hold of that. And sure enough, game 4, they got you again.
yeah. Yeah. That's a tough look for Class A. Okay. Well, my tribute, Matt. Little known pitcher for the Dodgers. His name is Brent Honeywell. He's one of our quote unquote low leverage guys that we've been throwing out in these playoffs. But I really, was watching the after Sportsnet LA highlights of them celebrating in the locker room. And it's funny because the players are all drunk and everything, but you know, they're interviewing Brent Honeywell and Max Muncy comes up and tells this story. It's a great interview, but essentially, Brent Honeywell has just been the guy that said, I'm willing to do whatever dirty work. Throw me in for 3, 4 innings. And it was huge, right? Because they throw him in for game 5. He's able to eat up innings so that we don't have to use any of the other bullpen guys in game 6. And I just thought it was funny to where, we know Mookie had his struggles in that NLDS series, but Max is saying, Brent was the guy out there throwing live BB to Mookie. And after that, got his swing back on track and he started to heat up again. So it's just cool to hear stories like that because it's so cliche if you're not on a team, right? If you never played team sports or you really don't understand the concept of, it takes an entire franchise or building or team, right? You always think growing up when you're the guys on the bench, oh, I don't, nothing affects me, but really you don't realize the kind of impact you're going to have in making your teammates better. Um, from janitorial guys to the chefs, it all plays a factor into, especially at the professional level, when it comes down to splitting hairs. So I just thought that was a cool highlight there. And yeah, it really does take an entire organization to be successful. So I want to shout out to Brent Honeywell for holding down some of the innings. And if he did get Mookie Swing back, hey, that's shout out worthy for sure right there. So I'll give it to him. But yeah, Matt, last one. You can round us out with our sports fact. We can call this.
All right. October 21st, we are recording. I'll go back to 1998 when the New York Yankees beat the San Diego Padres in 4 games to win their second World Series title in 3 years. And Scott Brosius, one of the scrappiest third basemen in Yankee history, wins World Series MVP. Trying to push this good luck to come on, let's maybe Jazz Chisholm will be MVP this year, third base, winning that award. So that's my sports fact of the day, in hopes that the Yankees can do it again.
All right. Sounds good. Well, with that being said, guys, it'll be an interesting week plus for emotions for all of us involved. And it's not just us. I think every baseball group of friends are going to have guys cheering for the Yankees, have guys cheering for the Dodgers. So it'll be really fun. I think it's good for baseball. People are saying, "Oh, it's so bad for baseball." Come on, it's two of the biggest franchises. It's literally Celtics, Lakers. What more could you ask for? Two of the biggest superstars in the sport getting to compete for the world title. That's really all you can hope for in any sport, right? So it'll be good for baseball. It'll be fun to watch, and it'll be fun to see how everything plays out. Like I said, people will be happy, people will be sad, but that's baseball, right? That's why you gotta love it. So we'll sign off for now, everyone. We'll be checking in during the week, but as usual, thank you guys for watching. Stay safe, have a good one, and we'll see you guys later.